Today, talking about low energy availability and RED-S. I think this is the perfect graphic, thank you, Jonathan, to really send home the point that our bodies empty to full, and we're always trying to like keep the gauge on the high side so that we can perform. So when you're thinking about fueling and the consequences of underfueling, running just like you wouldn't run your car on empty, unless you're me repeatedly, you wouldn't run your body on empty. It's going to do damage. So if this is graphic in the back of your mind, if you can kind of always keep that there when it comes to fueling daily and making sure you're meeting your needs, I think that will be pretty helpful. Agenda for today, defining low energy availability in RED-S. What are the warning signs, and then the consequences and how we can go about fixing it. If you have questions, speak up as we're going along. As always, I like it informal. And then, yeah, save them till the end, whichever is easiest for you. I'll try to pause after each bit just to make sure that you guys have time to jump in. All right. Differences and kind of similarities, low energy availability in RED-S. Low energy availability is that temporary, day-to-day, it can be one day, it can be a couple days, it can be maybe a couple sessions a month. It's that immediate, you're just not fueling properly on a daily basis. It could be just because you were busy that day at work and then training happened, or you had outside things. It could be that you had emotional things going on. Regardless, low energy availability is really a daily piece. It means that your body just doesn't have enough energy to support the physical functions that you're requiring it to do that day. It's repeated low intake of calories where your caloric intake doesn't match your exercise intensity. So it's not just underfueling, it's fueling properly for the work that you're doing. It can come from any number of causes. If it's on purpose, it could be body dissatisfaction, pressure from coaches and teammates, comparisons to other athletes. It can be unintentional, which I think happens a lot of the time when it's just a day-to-day component. When we start talking about RED-S, that's much more intentional. And that's just, you weren't logging stuff in the app or tracking very carefully. You weren't, like I said earlier, it got busy. Most of the time, low energy availability is really unintentional. Or we're trying to, in the back of our mind, if we ate more the previous day, we think, oh, I'll just cut back today. So it's situational a lot of the time, but it can lead to eating disorders. Now, when we're looking at RED-S, that's relative energy deficiency in sport. This is long-term. So this is if you have low energy availability repeatedly for months to even years. It's really poor health, declining athletic performance, when you are consistently and regularly on purpose not giving your body the food and fuel that it needs. Long-term implications, obviously disordered eating. It really will affect every single piece and component of your body, from your cardiovascular system to your gut health and metabolism, to brain health, to reproductive health, all to immunity, all of those kinds of things. RED-S will affect that down the line. And this is both male and female athletes are at risk. For a long time, we thought it was just female athletes. More and more we see men and women talking about it. And it really is a concern for both sexes. We find too that disordered eating is 20%, and I would say it's even higher. I think this is the amount of people that are actually admitting it and talking about it. And I think there are a lot that aren't, but 20% higher in athletes than non-athletes. So this is definitely something as a population, we really have to get a hold on and really want to make sure that we're talking about. Okay, So I thought it'd be good if, while I'm going through these, potentially asking these questions in your head and getting an idea if you might be, if you're experiencing some of these, that you might have somewhat of a disordered or not functional relationship with food. And I think when it comes to eating competence, we really want to make sure that you understand that fueling your body is important, but it's also important, if you're not fueling your body, to really be aware of that. So some of the questions: are foods being enjoyed for pleasure? Do you have strict rules surrounding food? If so, I can't eat this, it's considered bad. Or I can only eat this on days that I have 2-a-day sessions. Is time carved out each day for appropriate fueling? Are you making a point to properly fuel and refuel throughout the day? And do you understand what constitutes appropriate fueling? I know that we have all these tools in the app, but have you actually sat down to look, what are my macronutrient needs? Why are we doing these things? Have you watched some of the videos, sat in on a lot of our webinars? Do you feel confident saying that, yes, I know what appropriate fueling is and how to get there? Is there a variety in your food intake? Do you eat the same thing daily to control your diet? And I think this is kind of the fine line. I eat a lot of the same things, but it's because I'll either batch cook or because it's quick and efficient. So I think the difference lies in, are you eating this way because you have the same breakfast, lunch, and dinner because you've calculated exactly how many calories that is, and that it won't put you over, and that you don't have to worry about it, quote unquote. And so is it more for an obsession and you're staying with these particular foods, or is it just, you eat the same things over and over again because it's affordable and it's convenient and it's efficient? Is there an awareness of hunger signals? Do you deny or ignore those hunger signals? Intuitive eating has really become popular, that phrase, over the last several years. And that's, are you eating emotionally or because of out of stress, out of sadness, or are you ignoring hunger signals? Do you know what proper hunger signals are? Have you been under eating for so long that you forgot what it actually feels like to be hungry and or full? And then if you are feeling hungry, are you denying yourself food because you're worried about gaining weight? That's kind of where the danger piece comes in. Is there an awareness of fullness? Underfueling is one, but also overfueling. Do you, at meals, do you get so hungry because you haven't had breakfast and lunch that at dinner you overeat and then you don't know when to stop or when that point of fullness is? Unless, are certain foods off limits or used as rewards for long training days? Is food restricted on rest days? Or when your training schedule shifts, like, oh, this is I was supposed to do a 4-hour ride today and now it's just a 2-hour ride. It's just a 2-hour ride, just triathletes. So now I'm, going to cut my calories in half, or I'm not going to fuel on the bike. It's a lower intensity. And there's something to properly fueling and eating, but how you view your overall everyday energy intake, and then is restriction or punishment or reward coming in? All right, I want to make sure if there's any questions, just speak up. You don't have to raise your hand if we have any before we go. Okay, I know I can speak from experience. At different times in my life, I would say I could answer yes to all of these. I think it's very easy to fall into a pattern and become obsessive. I absolutely had a period of about 4 years where I didn't fuel properly. It started on kind of a one-off daily underfueling, and then definitely led to RED-S. I had stress fractures, lost my cycle, hair was falling out. I had night sweats, wasn't sleeping well. So I can say, you know, it's not always comfortable to talk about, but if we don't start bringing these things out in the open and kind of know that it can happen to all of us, something that we want to share and talk about, it's not, these things aren't going to change. Okay, some signs that you are under fueling. I think I get this a lot. How do I know if I'm actually in the sweet spot, or, you know, because weight gain or weight loss isn't always the easiest metric. Frequent bone injuries. This is the #1 warning sign, if you will, of how we know that that things aren't going well. So stress fractures, obviously, prolonged low mood. If we are not fueled properly, our body isn't going to release dopamine and serotonin. Depression is a sign of nutrient deficiency, especially vitamin D. If you're not eating properly, you're not getting those nutrients, that can definitely affect your mood. Prolonged low energy. If you are just continuously, no matter how much you sleep, or even if you take a couple recovery training days, if you're what you think you're eating is enough, but yet you're still tired all the time, definite warning sign. Poor sleep quality. Sleeping through the night or not. Waking up frequently, not able to go to sleep. If you wake up starving in the middle of the night, I've had athletes ask before, I'm so hungry, I'll wake up at, you know, 1 a.m. or 4 a.m. and I'm starving. Definitely a sign, if it's affecting your sleep, that you're under fueling. Prolonged irritability, decreased performance. Obviously, we all want to perform at our best. If you do blood work and you have some vitamin and mineral deficiencies, iron, vitamin D, obviously calcium related to that bone injury. B12 is another one that we'll see in your blood panel that are all warning signs. And then frequent illness. If you are one of those people that gets sick all the time, despite what you think, you know, oh, I take emergency, or I take zinc and this, and I, you know, try to stay away from people who are sick. If your immune system is that weak and you're getting sick a lot, definitely a sign that you are under fueling. Okay, I wanted to do the kind of, if you look on the right, the pictures, kind of the 3 stages, and really highlight the long-term health implications. So what can start with, you know, low energy availability every now and then, you know what, oh, you're getting sick, you're getting colds, flu, it's not horrible, but it can absolutely interfere with your race season and training and performance and just how you feel. Next stage is like the guy lying on the track. You can't perform, you're, you know, getting injured, you're not feeling like yourself. And then the bottom one is actually, if low energy availability becomes RED-S and it goes on for long periods of time, you can have very serious injuries and things that need medical attention. And if you look, we have low bone density and stress fractures, which in older age, as I'm learning, can lead to osteoporosis. You have amenorrhea, impaired recovery, muscle and tendon injuries, vitamin and mineral deficiencies. On a much more serious note, heart arrhythmias, hair loss, night sweats. If you're not fueling properly, you're not getting, you know, you're doing all this work, but you're not getting any of those muscular or cardiovascular adaptations. So you're not getting stronger, you're not getting faster, your watts on the bike aren't going up, the pace in the swim isn't going up. Definite signs and consequences of underfueling. And then we have depression and disordered eating, which again lead to other longer term mental health issues and implications. So what to do about it? Obviously, know your why. I kind of stole that from Iron Man, but I thought we are all doing this sport because we love it, because we want to get healthy, because we love to compete, because we like the structure that it provides. When it comes to fueling, I think it's very easy when you get in that kind of, oh, fueling doesn't have to be a priority. If you don't have the why there, it's the same thing with your training. You're gonna miss workouts, you're not gonna complete them, you're not gonna give them your all. Same thing with fueling. If you don't remind yourself why you're doing it, fueling becomes a bottom of the list priority. Fueling for the work required. I know that this sounds like I'm plugging the app, but use the app. Like you don't have an excuse to not know how much you should be eating every day. And if you don't understand the app, that's what your coaches are here for. It's very clear how much we want you to be eating. And it's easy to make adjustments based on how you're feeling. But all of the meals are there, recipes are there, daily and weekly caloric totals are there, how to fuel in session. It's really laid out very specifically. And again, if you don't understand parts of the app, please just feel free to ask either of any of the coaches. And then I think the last component, and this is certainly the hardest, but probably the most important, and that's addressing the psychological issues around eating. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to, speak up and ask other people like myself that have talked about it, or a therapist, or your family or friends. If you do this honest assessment and know, okay, food isn't just food or fuel anymore, there are outside issues, or I'm just not paying attention to this, and you're just too busy to kind of make fueling a priority, ask your spouse for help. Like, how can we make things easier? Ask your coach for suggestions on how to make sure that you're planning it properly. Ask all of the other athletes in here. We have a whole Facebook group. Ask them what they're doing, how they make it how they meet their protein goals for the day. We're a community. This is something that, while we all think we might be alone in it, we're definitely not. And kind of along with that, fueling for a purpose, I think it's important to remember when you start, we enforce this multiple times, but how do you know how to fuel your sessions? Current goal, performance, body composition, other, are you going just to be healthy? Are you trying to address vitamin and mineral deficiencies? Those kinds of things. Goal first, then your session details, type, duration, intensity, and then appropriate fueling in pre, during, and post. Every day, this is kind of the 3-step process that you're looking through. Again, we've done it in the app, but in your mind, this should be your kind of the foundation for how you're fueling on a daily basis. And I just put a couple of these slides in. We've talked about them before. The idea that breakfast isn't, a small muffin. Breakfast isn't a bar. Breakfast for athletes. Breakfast isn't a small cup of yogurt. Breakfast is especially if you're training in the morning, is a big meal. 1 to 2 cups of oatmeal, protein, banana, nuts, milk, couple slices of toast, almond butter and jelly, some boiled eggs, coffee, electrolytes. Fueling properly, especially at breakfast, is important. It starts your day off right, meeting those calorie requirements. In session fueling, I think this is one that's easy for a lot of athletes to skip. They think, oh, well, I'll conserve calories from the day and I won't fuel during. We very clearly laid out how important, if it's a zone 1-2 session, different types of fuel you need. If it's a zone 3-5 session, but there should be, if it's over an hour, if it's a higher intensity, there should be some fueling in there to help. And then lunch or dinner afterwards. Again, meals are substantial. A couple cups of rice or potatoes, bread, protein, chicken, fish, steak, plant protein, whatever that might be, veggies, fruit, electrolytes. All of these components should be included in your meal, and it should definitely be enough to properly refuel you and help you for the next day. All right, before we get to questions, I just have a couple. I like this graphic. I think it really shows the spectrum in RED-S. I think at the very far left, you see when your battery is completely drained, no charge, you haven't had enough fuel for a very long time, impaired growth and development, sickness, illness. When you just have a little, you see that kind of impairment of other endocrine systems. Again, that's your hormonal system, immune system. Even if you think, oh, I'm just kind of, I'm just going a little lower today, not much, or I'll cut back today. These couple in the middle here, poor repair and regeneration of tissue, menstrual disturbance, impaired recovery, and athletic fatigue. So it's really important to stay on top of these things. And if you look at kind of the green battery, especially where the star is, you want that battery refilled. You want your gas tank full. And you want to try to stay in that optimal zone every day. And it is important to acknowledge that we can go over, but that's why the app is, I think, really helpful, and then it gives you that guidance that you need. All right, let's do some questions. That was a lot of information. Talked for like 20 minutes straight. Okay, anyone?
Well, I just wanted to explain my experience before I joined the program. I used to feel I would nail the workouts, but then I would go to work and I would space out at the office, and I have trouble concentrating, and especially during the night I would have trouble because I would wake up over and over and over during the night. So I started the program, and I started with my Fitness Pal, weighting everything, and that went away. I felt with more energy and my results got better. However, weighting the food it was a nightmare. So I started to do the cupped hands and the hands, and go by feel. I don't record my meals anymore. I just looked at if it's a green breakfast or a amber breakfast or red, and I just guesstimate. I don't follow it right to the plan, and sometimes I get it right, sometimes I still don't, and it's just trial and error. And because sometimes I feel like when the training gets very, very heavy, maybe I'm not reaching my target goals. I know I'm not, but I get by. And the alternative is to weigh the food, but I don't want to go to that route anymore.
Yeah.
So any suggestions? I mean, how can you make it easier to make sure that you really hit your goals?
Sure. First of all, thank you for sharing. I think it's great for all of us to hear how we, as a group, make things work, and that you noticed a difference from under fueling to properly fueling. I too don't like to weigh and track all of my food. I'll do it a couple times a year just to kind of keep myself on track and look and know. But I think the visual component that you're saying, the cupped handfuls, the palm, that kind of stuff is very helpful. When I track, I have a couple meals that I've just done enough that I know, like, I don't have to measure them out or weigh them anymore. I've seen them enough times visually that I know. I have a big salad bowl that I, kind of know, okay, if a third of it is the rice or quinoa or potatoes, a third of it is this protein source that, I like to use. Like if it's a higher protein meal, I use wrist to fingertip. I like visually have pictured that. And then greens, I'll just fill the rest of the plate with that. So I think if you have a couple meals from your days that you were tracking it very diligently, that, you can take a picture in your phone, you can, you've done it enough that you're like, oh, I know that meal I remember from when I was doing it was a 600 calorie meal. And that's one of your go-tos on like your higher training days. So I think I have a couple of those that are in the back of my mind that I know if I'm not going to be weighing my food, it's like, I know that this meal is 600 calories or so, and it's going to be enough. I think the other component is the preparation piece of like lining up your day just like you would your training schedule. And so that you don't have to guess so much, you know that the cup of yogurt, because it's listed on the label, is this many calories, and the, microwave bag of quinoa, if you do half of it, it's already listed there and you know about how much. So I think aligning some packaged foods also with the daily targets in the app, I think, will make it a bit easier.
Yeah, because I don't usually cook. They cook at home. My wife, and she has someone who helps her. And I always try to eat with a lot of variety. But I know I'm definitely not hitting my protein goals. And sometimes when it's higher carbs, I get in trouble trying to eat as much food.
Yeah.
Because I talked to Scott the other day that in my schedule, I live in Mexico. And here in Mexico, our main meal, it's lunch. But we eat lunch like around 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So sometimes in my schedule, I would have like lunch, a snack, a training, another snack, and then dinner. And I would say, oh my God, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
So what I have done is that the snack, because in the States you would be eating lunch like around noon, and then it makes sense to have a snack before your training.
Yep.
So here in Mexico, it makes sense to have a snack before lunch.
Yes.
So I just moved it around. But then I start training around 6 in the afternoon. Okay. And sometimes if it's a longer session, I would end at 8 o'clock. And then it says to have a snack, a protein shake, and then dinner. Well, I'm not hungry. So it's just I have been moving things around to fit my schedule and way of life.
Yeah.
So that's that's why sometimes I don't hit the targets.
Yeah. And I think for some of my athletes that do their training at night.
Oh, I do it morning and night. And night.
Yeah. We really front load, because at 8 p.m. at night, it's very hard. If you train from 6 to 8, it's very hard to get in, even get in a dinner that's substantial enough, at that point. So I will start there. And if you're training in the morning, this can work because you'll be hungry. You'll need that pre-workout snack. I would almost do breakfast, or like protein, substantial protein sources, snack, lunch, train, dinner, and not try to squeeze in the shake. Yeah,
because in the afternoon, it's very, very busy.
Yeah.
And I cannot eat as much food. That's why I'm not hitting the targets. I know I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. How close is it? Are we like talking like 40 grams off or like 10 grams off?
No, we're talking about 40 grams off.
Okay. So that's then where I would say, look to add maybe 10 grams at breakfast, your snack and lunch. So it's easy with the protein shake. So if you do the protein shake, you can add 10 more grams there. And then breakfast, maybe have your pre-workout, have a couple more grams of protein there.
Yeah.
Instead of like really stacking. And then that way you're close.
Yeah. I've been trial and error, it's been difficult, but I'm getting by.
Good. And you're still feeling good.
I mean, I love the program. I mean, Jonathan knows that I've been here a long time now, and I like it. I have seen the results, and my weight has been stable. I mean, it's plus 1 kilo, plus to minus 1 kilo. So that's usually my range. And I joined the program because I used to feel low energy. Yeah. Spaced out.
Yeah. Which is easy to do. I think that's that unintentional under eating. It just happens. We have busy lives. We don't, until I think you know too how much food you need properly, you don't really have a grasp on it, right? You think like, oh, I can just eat how I've always eaten.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Alondra, I did have a clarification question. Is it mainly your protein that you're not hitting, or is it also carbohydrates?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both, yes. It's especially at night, because I would wake up, have a snack. It depends if it's a red one or a moderate one. Then I would train. Then I would have breakfast, and my breakfast usually includes like eggs, hams, beans, bread, some fruit, and sometimes during breakfast I have to limit my carb intake because of traditional Mexican breakfast is eggs, beans, and and then for my snack, I usually before lunch I usually do nuts or a protein bar or something like that. Then I would have lunch, and then in the afternoons it's when I have really trouble to get everything in, because since lunch is our main meal, for dinner it's just getting too close after training to have the meal. I always try to have a protein shake. Talking to Scott, he said forget about the moderate carb shake, just do a protein shake and try to have dinner. That's what I have done, but sometimes I eat not with much hunger.
Yeah. So I would say your snack would be an easy place to add some carbohydrates and probably a little bit more protein. So even if you did the protein shake and then maybe did some like oatmeal with it, that's an easy carbohydrate. A slice of toast with like a banana, almond butter and banana. What else could we do there? It could even be like a grain bowl. So yeah, I would add some carbohydrates to the snack to help meet your daily carbohydrate requirements. And then dinner, I mean, smoothies are an easy way to get in a lot of calories and carbohydrates. You can put oats, banana, protein powder, yogurt, seeds, nuts. Like, so we could make those that dinner meal. That might be easier to consume than a
protein shake and then dinner.
Yeah.
I have considered that. Haven't tried it yet, but it's a good tip.
Yeah, it's at least worth a try. I find in the evening, if I train late, I can't do a dinner. It has to be liquid, but it's still calorically dense. It's just easier for digestion, just because you can fit a lot in. I'll try to come up with a like 600 calorie, high carb, high protein smoothie recipe. I'll post it in our Facebook group.
Awesome.
Give it a shot. Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. All right, Jody. Yes, you're good. Thank you.
Hi, Elizabeth. Hi. Thanks for the talk. My first one I've been able to join. I found it interesting, the 5 questions that you had, and are you answering yes to all of them? I am. But then when you mentioned all the symptoms that like you had experienced over time after you were answering yes, I'm like, yep. Like I've at one point or another, not right now, not all of them. And I've been making changes to kind of positively go in the positive direction, and joining the program is definitely one of them. I take a lot of supplements to, I guess, counteract some of the low, like, you know, vitamin D, B12, etc. Iron is still the one that's really low. I'm seeing some positive improvements, I guess, from, I assume, all of the things, including following the program. But then is it normal, I guess, for it just to take a long time? The symptoms that bother me the most still are when I'm working out. I feel kind of like I'm moving through water. Like I don't have the power I used to have. I can do the things, so I'm still training, but I don't know, just the power isn't there.
Mhm.
And I'm just trying to like do whatever I can to fix that. And I think it's going the right direction, but I question sometimes if is what I'm doing, or it's just going that way anyways. It's supposed to take a long time. Or of the 5 questions, is there something in there I should be saying no that I'm like, you know, falsely thinking yes? And the only thing I can think of on this call, and also listening to Alejandro, was I am typically lower on the carb marker, like in the app. Probably because for many years, I've kind of just tended to like carbs in the morning and through the middle of the day, but never in the evening. And I've definitely changed that, though. I just find it hard to add them in. Some days I hit it, some days I don't. So anyways, there's a few questions in there, I guess.
They're great questions. Sorry that you felt all of the things that I have felt. It's no fun. And yes, it does take a while for your body to adjust again, to like have the fuel on hand and utilize that so you can actually feel stronger in your sessions. Carbohydrates really are the thing that make the difference there. So I would say, how are you fueling before and during those sessions? Like, should we look to maybe add more, change those?
Yeah, it could be a thing. I'm generally, like most people, squeezing it in before work, and then I don't tend to have a big breakfast before, but I used to not have anything, and now I'll have like a banana or like something carby before, but it's still not a lot, right?
Yeah.
Or after, and then same thing. Like I had a banana again before my run just now after work. But
well, that's something. That's definitely helpful. You're on the right track. So I would say, let's look for some more like complex carbohydrates. Those will give you a bit more sustained energy. So like roast a couple sweet potatoes, and I will do that instead of a banana in the morning, or like afterwards with my breakfast. That's kind of easy. I found that hummus, while it's also a healthy fat, there can be some, it's beans, chickpeas, so it's higher in carbohydrates. Or like Trader Joe's sells the mashed edamame that looks like guacamole, or you can just make your own. That one I like too. I find it very easy to add beans or edamame or something like that when I'm trying to get more carbohydrates in. It's just like that thing you don't think about. The same with wheat germ. I'll throw 2 tablespoons of that on, just aside from the fiber that's great for you. You can easily get in another 15 or so carbohydrates, 4 or 5 grams of protein, and that you can put in yogurt, in smoothies, oatmeal. So I think take the meal, whatever it is that you're eating, and then what are the easiest ways, instead of trying to change everything, what are some additions we can put in that are really easy, that we can up that carbohydrate intake a little bit
right before.
Yeah, right before. And then at night, if one of the ones, like you said, was sleeping, if that was an issue, then I remember mentally that was the hard like trigger at night. I was like, oh, I'm fine. I don't need carbohydrates. I'm not training for the rest, you know, but that's where those really do come in to help with sleep and to make sure that it's a restful night of sleep. I know adding like natural calm helped because I was lower in magnesium and my body was hurting. Or that, you know, casein protein shake at night, depending on what time you had dinner, that was really helpful in helping me through the night. It kind of stopped the night sweats. I would mix it. So like even the milks you choose, oat milk, for example, is higher carbohydrate. So that's than like almond milk. Soy milk is higher in protein than the other two, obviously milk. So maybe just making tiny little tweaks, but over the course of the day, that can actually make a difference.
Add up.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Keep me posted on how you're feeling. Leave a comment on one of your days. Or if you just want us to like take a look at the day, if you know, like a Monday you think you fueled properly, but Tuesday you felt awful, then, you know, leave a comment and we can come in and say, oh, I would have maybe done this, or what about that?
Right. Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Beautiful background, by the way. My gosh. I'm stuck inside. She's out in like beautiful nature. All right.
Elizabeth, I have a question.
Yes.
I need to understand the routine, so it will be easier for me after the workout. I don't know what to do first. To eat something with protein quickly that they say is important, especially for women, like a yogurt, for example, or a shake. Take the glutamine and the, what's the name of the other thing you told us to take?
Creatine?
Yes. Drink water, like make the shake. I don't know what to do first, and eat real food, because real food is better than shakes. I'm so confused, and every day I try to, I do in the moment what I feel is right. I don't understand the routine, and I feel like I would like to understand and then build a habit, because right now I'm just taking whatever I see first, whichever package is out there first. I don't know what to do. So that's why my question is.
Okay. Great question. I feel this. I think a lot of athletes want to understand what the best way to do stuff is. And I think let's try to take some of that anxiety off and go with anything you're doing to positively fuel your body is better than nothing. So I'm like, you're not going to be like, you can stop going for perfection and like give yourself some space. Like, okay, if I have time to make a regular meal, I will make a regular meal. If I'm super thirsty and whatever, and I don't have time to, so it's like, give yourself some space. I think it helps me to look at I think when it comes to a routine, our training schedule is usually pretty similar throughout the week. So, you know, let's just say Monday is a swim recovery day and a strength training. Tuesday is whatever, Wednesday is whatever. I have a routine for a Monday, a routine for a Tuesday, a routine for a Thursday, because it's every day is a little different, but every like Monday, and does that make sense? So it's, I know what my schedule is with work. I know what my schedule is with training. I know when I'm going to basically eat my main meals during the day, and then where I can fit my shake in, or my glutamine, or my creatine. So I think you have to have that mentality of looking ahead instead of just in the moment trying to figure out what the best alternative is. The nice thing about the app is if you've put your correct workout times in, so, you know, I think it defaults to 7 a.m. maybe. But so if you've gone in and fixed those, and we know that your session is actually 5 a.m., then we've adjusted to make sure that you know, so you don't have to guess, oh, your pre-workout snack is here, then your breakfast can be right here, then your snack, then your lunch. Like, so we've kind of structured it throughout the day and according to what your training is. So that would, does that make sense? Kind of what taking the pressure off.
Yes, but partially, because my question is, after the workout, what do you prioritize? Taking the glutamine and the creatine first, then eating real food, then do the shake, and it's not about perfection, by the way. It's just, for me, it's just building a habit of what makes sense to put in the body first. It sounds like there is no special order, if you will. It's
in an ideal world, you would do the glutamine and creatine. You would have that kind of in your bottle so that when you finished and you're cooling down, you're kind of sipping on that. It's already done. It's already, that's how I do mine. Or I even put it in, depending on the session. And I'll put it in my second bottle. If it's a bike or if it's strength training, I'll just sip on it throughout. And then if I know I'm going to be eating a full meal within an hour, then I move the shake to somewhere else during my day.
I see. Okay.
But if you know you have to drive back from the pool, or you have to jump on a call for a meeting, then that's when that shake really comes in handy. But you don't have to try to shove 3 things in at once, but you do want to move that shake to somewhere else during your day, if possible.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Creatine, glutamine, hydration. That's your immediate. Let's
Yep.
That the habit, and then protein shake and or meal, depending on your schedule.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I think that's a question that a lot of people have. So it's a really good question to ask. It can be a lot. Oh, look at that. Look at that face. Every one of these should have a dog. Elliot's brought his in sometimes. Like now Iris has hers in. Please, for all future webinars that I'm on, bring the dogs in, because I can't have them. I miss them. All right. Any other? This is great. Any other fueling questions or potential? Am I under fueling? Should I be worried? I think if you've had some of those symptoms, stress fractures, disrupted sleep, poor mood, now is the time to take action. Use this as your warning sign to find someone, speak to someone, ask any of the coaches, because it really is, if it's not impeding or affecting your performance and recovery at the moment, it definitely will be the longer that it goes on and the more damage that it can do. It took my body a long time to readjust to eating properly and fueling properly and sleeping and addressing all the vitamin and mineral deficiencies. But it does get better. I don't want to end on a negative. It's when you prioritize fueling and food and take away some of that diet mentality, it really, our bodies will function amazingly and will perform the way we want.
We can check in on some of the athletes, like Jason. You've been on for a couple of weeks now. How are things going? If you're able to talk.
Yeah, things are going pretty good. I traveled over the last weeks, so my diet hasn't been right on point. It's different when you go see family and they don't practice fueling the way you do. So it's multiple trips to the grocery store. Yeah.
We got to get all of them the app.
Yeah, their post-ride workout is go to Buffalo Wild Wings. And it's like, that's good, but so I'm back home today with my wife and starting to zero back in. So I'll be kind of, I wouldn't say starting from scratch, but kind of focusing back on it now.
And I think that's a good point to bring up. This is kind of the travel season for vacations and, still using the app in terms of kind of knowing what you're trying to meet. but yet also giving yourself kind of that space and grace while you're vacationing or traveling to kind of do the best that you can, and not, you know, not beat yourself up over it. Like you said, you got home, you're good, you're starting, you're back on track. And your body probably, like, having that little bit of time away and eating like the rest of the world eats, maybe it was a nice little reprieve, and will help motivate and make things smoother going forward.
Yeah, and we have an iPad. Jonathan knows the struggles we went through with an older iPad, so we had to go out and buy a new iPad, and I left that home with my wife so that she focus on her fueling, and so I just put all training for each day, and then when I got to my brother's house, I went out, you know, bought bagels, some spinach, and things some staples that I knew I would need for you know, so it worked out.
Good. And that I think is the component of how can we make the best of travel. And that's, you know, I've done a lot of different talks. Like you said, you go to the store and you get a lot of your own stuff and your own staples.
Yeah, absolutely.
And make additions, offer to cook sometimes, try to pick the restaurant, look at the menu. I mean, if it's a wing place, maybe a burger, change depending on the toppings and the bun, avoid the fries, like finding ways to make adjustments and adaptations. Sounds like you did a good job.
I gave it my best effort.
That's all we can ask for.
Yep.
Sarah Matters, Satish, any things going well? Any questions or updates? No.
Someone say they had a question. Anyone?
So yeah, Dee had a question. We're kind of tag teaming on this.
Okay.
So
hi, I have a question. I don't do the crazy 3 disciplines as far as racing. So I do them for you know, better run performance. I'm a marathon runner. So discovering is, and haven't had you know, an in-depth conversation with Scott yet. But my question is, you know, for some of us that are definitely into the perimenopausal phase, when you mentioned the night sweat and, you know, you can't sleep, and I'm like that. Mine is not I don't think under fueling. Mine is other things.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
trying to find the balance, right? So trying to find the balance and quickly realizing that one's body is changing. Not by fault of eating bonbons, watching a movie, or anything of that nature, staying on the course. That's tough to deal with. You know, you know, my doctor says to me, you know, you'll do great, you're training, you won't put any weight on your stomach. Well, she jinxed. So so I'm struggling with that. And I had mentioned to Scott a couple of times, like, my weight is increasing and I'm not quite sure what to do. And so I have been working with a nutritionalist a couple of years ago. So it was good that we got connected with you guys through the Toro group, because I have changed. I'm a better athlete today, a different person, just, I guess, holistically and whatnot, but noticing that the weight gain, but also noticing I have hypoglycemia. And so if I don't get that morning sugar in, I tend to crave the carbs and will want to grab, you know, pretzels with peanut butter, or, you know, something that's a no-no. So I guess, do you have any tips as far as from female to female
Sure.
on any of that?
Yeah. So I'm sure, Scott, when you guys do get to have a conversation, we'll have kind of all of the valuable information to reinforce. But I think some key takeaways: acknowledging the fact that your body really isn't under your control at the moment. You can kind of manage it and do the best that you can based on this period of life that you're in.
Mhm.
No pun intended. Funny at 5 o'clock. So a couple things like to help with night sweats. The tart cherry juice, the ice cold tart cherry juice really does, I've found really does help. Black cohosh is an herbal supplement that helps. Valerian root can help a good bit. So I don't know, like, I don't know your medical history, but look, like you can look into those. We can talk about them. Those do help with the hot flashes, night sweats, kind of insomnia. In terms of the weight gain, I think that's really a shift. 2 parts. The kind of training that you're doing, that kind of long, as a marathoner, I'm sure, I don't know how much strength training you're doing, but that like changing body composition by adding muscle and some higher intensity strength training really will change your body for the better.
Okay.
And it doesn't, like, I guarantee it actually, we think, especially I think as runners, that it's going to slow us down, and it really won't. So my best tip would be strength training 3 or 4 days a week, if you can, like fitting that around your marathon training. So if you're, I found that makes a big difference. The 2 supplements that I really like, creatine and leucine, is important. That's especially for body composition. So if you are, I don't know what kind of protein powder you're using, but make sure if it's whey, you're good. But if it's a plant-based one, or if it's not one of the ones that Scott and I recommend, it might not be as high in leucine. So you want to check that on the label. You want 5 grams per serving. Same thing with creatine. You're going to want that 5 grams, 2.5 to 5 grams, depending on your body weight and training schedule. So that would be the supplement recommendation. Have you had blood work done to see, like, I'm curious if you're, like, what your A1C is. That might tell us where some of the blood sugar issues are coming from.
So a couple things. One, I don't do protein powders. I have done everyone under the sun, and my stomach is like, nope, not going to do it.
Okay.
So I even tried, plant-based, all of that. So, and then I just had a bunch of blood work done, and sugar levels, which was ironic. It said that it was high, but when I talked to my PCP, she said, well, so for some folks, it's high. For some folks like yourself, who is an endurance athlete, it's not high. So didn't make a whole lot of sense. And I asked her if we should do an A1C test, and she specifically, because she just did the normal panel.
Yeah.
That when you go in for your yearly. And so she said not at this time. So, I mean, I can't force her. so I just kind of was like, okay.
So well, I guess you can do it a couple ways. You can go on Amazon and get your own blood sugar tester and test your blood sugar, once or twice a day for a month. And then you get the average. It's not fun. It's a finger prick, but interesting.
No, I actually have it. I was checking it for hypoglycemia a few years ago, and I still have that. I just don't know where I should be, because it always reads a bit high.
Yours does, or your machine does?
No, mine, whenever I do my finger prick.
So do it before you eat your meal.
Mm-hmm.
I would do it before and after, just to that the scientist in you would be curious to see.
Okay.
And then, I think most of them will let you track the data. If not, I just would start an Excel sheet, and then you can make your own average over the month. And it's not so much whether we're saying it should be 80 or 92, but if you are consistently 103, 108, 103, 108, like that, whatever that is for you, then we can kind of start looking at if that's a problem.
Okay, so is that test before breakfast, like before I eat?
I like to do a fasting blood glucose test in the morning. I think that's interesting information. When you go in to have your A1C, they'll be doing it fasted. They should have you do it fasted.
Okay, so when you said do it, so I can do it in the morning and then have, because see what I'll do is I'll have my pre-workout, my little snack, and then I do my workout and then of course have my breakfast. So where should I check it again?
Check it at lunch, like right after you eat lunch. Let's
Right
do
after
one
lunch, okay.
in the morning and then one after you eat lunch.
Okay, yeah, I can track that for sure.
So that, I think that we could give us an idea too of potential weight gain if you're having issues, insulin sensitivity, if your pancreas isn't functioning. And I'm not saying that it isn't.
No, I get you.
Alarm bells ringing. I'm just saying these are things in my mind I would want to check. And then the kinds of carbohydrates you're consuming too. I think the more complex carbohydrates, the better. And for you, getting your protein in, if you're not using a protein shake, it's probably pretty tricky, but that should be a priority as well for body composition.
We do, so we're a bit of the freak on the freak side. We're very diligent on our food. So it's measuring, I mean, we've been doing it for so long, it kind of comes second nature. So, and yes, so, you know, do I pull out the scale? I do. It's on our counter. We use it,
Every day.
yeah, lunch and dinner, we use it. Breakfast, not so much because it's, you know, minus 3 eggs, handful of spinach, and a slice of toast. So, you know, you don't really weigh that, but we're very diligent when it comes to that. I think for me, it's just realizing, you know, when we got on the Fuelin plan, I was under eating, but it was the, what's the vegetable? It's the, what is it called? Is it the complex?
So
We were missing something out of our, the complex carb, maybe? I can't remember what it was we were missing. We were slightly under eating, but never the protein. We like our protein too much.
Amen. I love it too.
Yeah. For meat eaters.
Yeah. That helps. That really helps in meeting the protein requirements for the day.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Scott will have more that he'll want to add to, but yeah, strength train, creatine, leucine. I know you say that you've tried all of them. Have you tried Momentous yet? Momentous protein?
No, I have not.
We haven't.
So my little sensitive stomach, I never used to be able to do whey protein. And I can do that. That one is magic. All right, I put it in the chat.
Okay.
They're whey or they're plant-based. A lot of people, and I like the chocolate flavor. If you don't like chocolate, the vanilla, and then I add cinnamon to it. They sell sample packs, so you can just try it without having to buy a full thing. But I think we should probably find a way to get leucine in as well. Although if you're eating a lot of meat, you're probably getting it in your diet. So,
And I think she has a leucine supplement. I thought you had.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so she's taking a leucine supplement.
okay,
Of
good.
some sort.
And I do amino acids with what's the other powder? The
Collagen?
yeah, with collagen. So I do that as a quick after workout to try and help. Okay,
Great. You guys are doing all the right things. I think your body is just at that point where it's like, I'm going to make your life difficult for a while. But definitely look into the black cohosh, valerian root, tart cherry juice before bed, ice cold. It helps.
Where do you get the tart cherry juice? We used to find that
at Costco.
at Costco's, I think, or maybe Fry's. Where are you getting that at?
I either get it at Sprouts.
Oh, Sprouts.
Whole Foods if I'm feeling bougie and have extra money to throw. Or you can I'll Amazon it
Okay.
sometimes too. But Sprouts definitely has the what's it? It starts with an M.
Okay.
Type of cherry.
What in what quantity? Like how many ounces?
A cup full. I want to say like 6 to 8 ounces.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so decent size. Okay, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. People try and find out. We were drinking it at one point and it just kind of
Disappeared.
yeah. I was like, oh,
Stop telling it.
It didn't find its way into the grocery cart. I know.
no.
It happens.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll help, and yeah, keep me posted. Always open for questions. Happy to work through stuff.
Awesome. I appreciate your input. I didn't mean to monopolize the call.
It's all issues that a lot of us either have faced or will face. Welcome to your future, young ladies.
Right? Yeah. Thanks again.
Sure.
I know we're up on time.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, do you have a few more minutes, or do you have to
Yeah,
run?
nope, we're good.
Okay. I know, Dee, you did have a question in the app, and I know Scott's been traveling, so did you want to ask about the meal timing question as well?
Yes, actually. So I had found that I have my pre-workout eats, right? I work out, I have my breakfast. So because I am an early riser and sometimes out running by 4:40 in the morning, I find that when I have breakfast, let's say it's around 7, then, you know, lunch for me is not at 10:15. It's like 11, 11:30, sometimes 12. Well, that's a good 4 or 5 hour span. And so for me, I was always taught that you eat, or you should eat, every 2 to 3 hours, which is what I was doing on my previous meal plan from my past nutritionist. So I had asked, Scott, and he said, well, it typically should be 2 to 3 hours. So therein lies the question, do I have lunch at 10:30? I'm just trying to figure out, but I'm also realizing I'm getting my headaches back. And so I didn't share this with Scott, but it happened the last time I was working with my nutritionist, was that we ended up moving my fruit I had as a snack from the afternoon up to the morning, because due to the hypoglycemia sugar levels, I would start to get headaches. And so I'm starting them again. And so I'm thinking, okay, I need to have something between breakfast and lunch. And so not quite sure on this plan what that looks like.
So I don't have I will look at your plan. My phone's charging. But if you have an afternoon snack, definitely move it up. You shouldn't go 7 a.m. to noon. I would do that like 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock snack.
That's normal for me.
Yeah. If you can do yogurt, I think yogurt with fruit would be great, especially for hypoglycemia. Throw some wheat germ in there for a little fiber.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a better option for you, especially if your headaches are coming back. And it's getting hot. Are you hydrating properly during and after, even if you don't think you need it? Like, I would headaches obviously can come from low energy, but they can be dehydration related too. So I'd just maybe be sipping on electrolytes all morning if I were you.
Yeah, so we use the, what's it called, IV?
Liquid IV.
Liquid IV. And so we sip on that. So a little curveball. Yes, sister has some heart issues. So I have to keep those levels up, or I start to experience some of those feelings that I don't like in the chest. So, drinking water, I found for me, is not an all-in-one. So pushing the liquid IVs to get those electrolytes in has helped immensely. And so part of this, when Scott has on there, I think it's between breakfast for me and lunch, there's that hydration, and I think he's even said to me in messages that use something that has electrolytes. So I've just been doing liquid IV.
Okay. As long as you're using something. I mean, I have preferences if it works. Do you know off the top of your head, the sodium in one of those packets?
I don't. We can grab it real quick. I think it's I think it is 200 milligrams.
Okay. Do you sweat a lot? Because that's probably pretty low.
So yeah, I'm a good sweater. Matter of fact, I just did a sweat test and I'm not sure what to think of it. It was the sweat rate test that I did. Yeah. I ran this weekend, and so I think I was hoping Scott would comment on it. But yeah, I'm not sure
You know what? I will go in and look at your sweat test and leave you a comment tonight. I'll go read through it and take a look, and then
Okay.
maybe make a recommendation.
Yeah, and then he just,
Not too bad.
Jason just told me they're 500 for the sodium.
Oh, okay. You're fine then.
Okay. Okay. And so we've just been doing one a day. Should I be doing one in the morning, one in the mid-afternoon?
Oh yeah. As it's hot, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so we need to up that. Okay, no problem. We can
And
do that.
the one in the afternoon, again, like I would say your one in the morning, I would try to have that, like finish that bottle with your breakfast within that hour or so, or even take some with you if the runs are getting particularly, I don't know where you guys live, but at some places, if you're in Arizona, it's like 90 degrees at 4 a.m. So,
We live in the inferno of Phoenix.
Yeah.
oh Lord, see, I guessed it. Yeah, regardless of how long that run is, you should have some of that while you're running for sure.
Oh, and so what? So let me, we use Gatorade Endurance when we run. No?
Well, okay, I have a bias against Gatorade. I should admit
Oh.
to start. That's what that face
Okay.
is for.
Truthism.
It has some sugar, so okay. I don't know depending on which one you get, and I don't know how much sodium is in it. So I think you'd be better off hydrating properly, like having that pre-workouts. Again, depends on the length of your run. I would rather hydrate with a bottle and then add some chews or something. Just because Gatorade has chemicals in it too.
What do you recommend then to run with?
I would put the liquid IV in your bottle and run with that, especially now that it's hot.
Can I ask, what do you use?
I use SOS hydration.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Love it. Sometimes when it's really hot, I'll use the LMNT precision hydration. That's easy. They have the tabs to put in. I would say those would be my top 3 in that order, probably. Liquid IV kind of, SOS is I would say like before liquid IV, but it's what's in the oral rehydration solution. Same thing, what you get in an IV bag. Although SOS is 330 milligrams, but it's balanced, like it's the right balance for the amount of water that you put in. The liquid IV, if it's got 500, you probably need a little bit more water to make sure absorption is ideal.
Yeah, I think it's 16 ounces. 16 ounces of water.
Okay, that's about right then.
Okay.
I think SOS.
And in the app, you can see our recommended hydration and fueling products. And I believe we do have a discount for SOS and precision.
Oh, good to know. Yeah, we're not stuck to it. I can just tell you that a lot of the races that I run, that is on the run course.
Yeah.
So it was just something that I tried to train the gut. I am a little finicky. My husband laughs at me because he's iron stomach. And so it's just kind of what has worked. But yeah, I'm not opposed to moving to something that I feel is going to be more beneficial for sure.
Okay, good. And I think too, different products taste differently. You might like them at some point or another. Some might work better than others. I kind of enjoy trying different things and finding what works. So
okay,
I'll take a look at your sweat test and see if I can add some insight, at least until Scott gets back.
Yeah, no worries. So if I move that snack up to the morning, then am I just without a snack then from between lunch and dinner?
Not looking at your plan, is there like an evening snack, or like, I don't want to go over your calories, but I also don't want you to not eat for several hours. So
yeah, no, I only have my pre-workout snack, then breakfast, then lunch, and a snack in between lunch and dinner, and then dinner. So I just have 2 snacks.
okay, I would then break my lunch in half. I know it doesn't sound convenient, but I would eat like half of it at noon and then the other half at 2.
Okay. Yeah, I'm adjustable. It's not a big deal to me. So
okay. Yeah, that would be that's the easy suggestion. The in-depth one, would be to look at meal composition and see, okay, if we took, you know, if you train in the morning, are you training at night also sometimes?
Super no, it's hot.
Okay. But you are going to add in strength training, because I'm telling you how important that is.
Okay.
If you do, we can add in a snack in the afternoon too. But I would look at like maybe taking a little bit from dinner and a little bit from lunch and making room so that that you can have a snack, because that's a long time to go from noon until 6, 7, whatever,
Yeah.
for dinner.
Okay. Okay. Good deal. Thank you.
Sure, sure. All right. Any others? All right, well, I'm going to stop recording, and then if there's any app questions or anything, we can go through those.